Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Boy That Loved, a Boys Love podcast hosted by me, Dion. Hello, everybody. As you can see by the title, we will be going over Dead Friend Forever. Now, if you're new and you're not used to my everything wrong with videos, basically I go through a show's characters, give my opinions on the characters, and then give my overall thoughts on the show at the end. I've done this a few times with Semantic Error and a bunch of different shows. I recently did Last Twilight. So yeah, if you want to see more of those videos, they're posted here on the channel, and I'll probably do more in the future based on the show. I've been kind of missing doing these kind of videos, but sometimes either the show is too short or the cast is too little to actually fully do one of these videos with. Um, so I kind of just skip out on it and just move on to the next show to react to. Also, if you haven't seen my reactions to Dead Friend Forever, they're all live on my Patreon page as well as different shows. I have all the Korean dramas I'm watching, the Japanese dramas I'm watching now, get into that. They're all on there at Patreon. So if you want to help support the channel and get extra content, that's the best way to do so. Now, with all that being said, let's get into these characters. First on our list, we have is Poor. Now, he is one of those, I guess you can say, textbook bully characters. He was faking the funk with Naan, trying to be like cool with him out of nowhere to get something. After he got it, he progressively got worse and meaner towards him and was constantly physically abusing him, saying things to him that was rude and mean, and just the bully of all bullies. Now, it does seem like the friend group, in some capacity, has some resentment towards him. You know what I mean? But the show didn't really dive into that for some reason. I don't know why. They brought it up in like the flashback episodes where he won the award and he was the face of it and his parents are so proud and they were just like in the background and they were just came up afterwards and they just felt a ways. They didn't really dive deep into that and I kind of wish they would have in some capacity. I don't know if they would have had the more infighting at this point, like at the cabin. I don't know, but it could have went that route, But he ended up being, you know, knocked out for most of the main timeline, and then ended up just dying. Now I have some feelings on everybody's like death and their thing that happened to them. I'll get back to that at the end. But for now, I'm gonna say I feel like I don't know. You know what? I'll wait to the end. I'll wait to the end, and I'll let you know how I feel. Um, as far as the actor goes, he did a good job. I really believed it. His whole like being nice, fake nice, and then being mean, asserting himself over the group, but also backing down because some other members of the group kind of bucked at him, and he kind of was like, "Shut up!" He shut up, and he was not really, which I thought was interesting. I wish they would have really delved deep into that because some of the characters in the group, friend group, will go against him, and I love that. But they didn't really go too much further into that, which I wish they would have. Next character is Top. Oh my goodness. Now between Poor and Top, I like the character Poor a bit more, but I feel like I want to like Top more. But like I said, they could have done more of the characters with their personal issues with each other and all these things, but he was working my nerves. The way he was bullying on, he was just like Poor, just faking the funk, and then got progressively worse and meaner towards him. And and when he broke that camera and let Naan take the fall for it, oh, because I wasn't sure because obviously we had the main timeline shown first to us. So we weren't sure what's going on. People was talking to him, and we didn't know what happened to their friend Nan. What happened to him, and like he was being suspicious. They're all being suspicious about what's going on. But I was kind of like, all right. But then get to flashback, and I was like, oh, he is diabolical. I hate him. Him and Poor, I was like really hating, and they are more overtly on the surface, less complex bully characters, bad guys, than the other ones on this list. And I don't know how I feel about that because I want to just be upset because how awful they were. So like I hate them, but like at the same time they're borderline generic in a way. So it was not as fleshed out, as interesting. Like I said, they didn't go further with different things with each individual character. So it's hard to really like. Do I am I just like, oh, they're a bully, so I hate them, or do I love to dislike them based on their complex narrative? And that's what I'm not having with this character or with Poor. You know what I mean? He he got shot, but then he also fell down the staircase and like I guess broke his neck or something. That was a bit strange. I thought he was getting go get shot, and then like that was it. But like he came back, he didn't die from that. I was like, oh, and I rise. Like what's going on? Um, and yeah, I just and him and Fluke could have like because he told Fluke not to tell about the camera breaking and Fluke. I'll get to him in a second, but like I wish they would have delved deeper in some way with these other characters. Um, I mean, we had a whole episode, like last episode 11, where like it was all about T and like a whole narrative, the whole episode. I'm like, we could spend half episode on each of these boys. You know what I mean? We could have did that to kind of give them more complex narratives, but they didn't want to do all that, which is fine, I guess. It's whatever. Next we have is Fluke. Now, Fluke, it was very interesting because in his storyline in the show, his whole thing in the show, he was very complacent, just fading to the background. Didn't he barely spoke in the past timeline? Like I maybe had like maybe 10 lines out of all those episodes, if that. He's obviously spoke more in the main timeline, but in the past one, I was like, oh, he ain't really doing nothing. But his character was guilty by association. All the things that were happening to Naan, he didn't actively do anything to him, but he also didn't like he let them bully him. I don't know how I feel about that because I'm like I don't know why. I understand he is with the friend group and he watched them bully. He watched all these things go down, and he's faulted for not doing anything. But like I don't know what if he's friends with the bully friends. Obviously he wouldn't stop them. You know what I mean? Even though it would be the right thing to do, but he didn't really want to stop them. But is he as bad as them because he didn't do anything, or is he better than because he didn't do anything? That's probably the question. Is he absolved or like no fault because he didn't do anything? I have a hard time answering that question because most people will say, especially in my Discord, they were like, "Well, being complacent and watching, you're guilty as well. It's just as bad as doing the active thing." And I'm like, sure. I guess if you're like in the mix, like if you're in the mix, I guess. But like if you saw someone getting robbed and you didn't stop them from getting robbed, you're not at fault for robbing that person because you didn't stop the robber from robbing. But obviously, you're not in the mix of that. You're just a witness. He's a witness, but he's also in so it's a little different. I don't know. I don't feel I don't know. I mean, he was there, but I'm like, I don't know if he should got. Like, I don't know if he should got. He did feel like the thing is that having his like dream, his hallucination things happening where he's feel guilty and like he gouged his eyes out because he watched things and looked the other way. Now he can't look at all now because his eyes are stabbed out. Was a little insane. Was a little insane, and him being in the main timeline going unhinged about his like his reputation, like he's gonna be a doctor, he can be fooled up with them, and I think he finally snapped because he's in a position where he could lose everything. Now he's like, I guess, because in his hallucinations, his thing is like he's being selfish. He's always doing things to preserve himself, which that's the thing I can't fault him on him being selfish. I don't think being selfish is a bad thing per se. I mean, at times it can be selfish, especially when it hurts other people. But when it's not hurting anyone else, I'm like, be selfish, be save yourself. You know what I mean? But as we saw, he almost killed both Poor and Top when he had a chance to. I mean, White was there, so he didn't, but and he also snapped and got the gun. And he was doing things, and he shot Top. Like it was a lot going on with him, and like he had a break, and with the whole guilt of him, like I said, not doing anything as he saw things happening. I think it was very interesting and a very cool way to show how he was feeling towards all the things, because he could easily say I wasn't a part of this, because he wasn't, but you know, the guilt of him just watching. Because I don't think he's a bad guy. Like, I don't think he wanted to bully Naan and be a part of that crew, but it's almost like it was either Naan or him. You know what I mean? And he was like, well, if it's gonna be him, I'm gonna just I'm not gonna shake the boat. I'm not gonna cause any trouble, cause any attention. I'm gonna conceal, don't feel. You know what I mean? Which makes his character a little more complex. Again, they didn't dive deep and any direction, but they kind of did a little bit with him and with his what he was saying with certain things and how he was feeling. So they kind of did some stuff with him. But being as a character who barely said anything in the past timeline, there was not much to really. It was more like context clues and kind of figuring things out as we went along. And then him gouge his eyes out and then falling down the staircase and breaking his neck. Oh, it seems that seems like a lot for him. Now, I will say Tan getting his revenge and doing the things he's doing, like go off king and do what you need to do, and that's who cares about who did what, y'all all guilty by association. I get that, but like as the outsider looking in, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if he should have killed him. I don't know about all that. Ugh. Next we have is White. Girl, okay, first of all, I'm the fool because I thought he was gonna be final girl. I really did. It felt like he was the outsider of the friend group coming in, and he's gonna find all the secrets, and his man's gonna be revealed to be this, and there's some shady stuff going on with their missing friend Naan, and like he was supposed to be that scapegoat character for us. Like it was kind of set that way, but then you get to the past timeline, and we don't see him like at all until a certain point, and we see him in a montage at towards the end of that flashback episodes. I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine. He's still giving outsider coming in. We see him dating T, like, okay, this is Boo, and like, whatever. He wasn't around all the bullying, all that stuff that happened went on was before he came on the scene. Okay, so like he's still like final girl esque, right? And then we get to episode 11 where we see how they met, which is so there's another flashback within a flashback. How he met T, and he was giving very much Minute Pixie Dream Boy in that. T was going through it with the guilt and all these things and all these hangups and all the things, right? And he helped him out of that funk and he found love and it was like all precious and amazing. And now in the main timeline, he's found out his man caused all this pain and like all these things, and it's really intense. Um, it's it was crazy how he ended up being a casualty of all this. That boy didn't do nothing to Naan. Wasn't aware, wasn't a part of it, and he got. Now it is a like poetic tragedy that his death caused so much pain to T, and T is one of the characters, I'll get into him in a minute, that really had his guilt on the forefront, and this would have hurt him the most, and it did. Not only White dying, but being killed by him. It's crazy. That was so crazy. I was shook. I was shook. I am sad that I wish he would have survived, like one of the last survivors of this. But also, I'm also like having him die really served a purpose. It really went there with what they wanted to do. Um, and he's not the only innocent bystander in this whole show. So like anyone can get got. The ones who deserve it, ones who don't deserve it. Anyone can get got, and that's what happened to Wyatt and Poe Baby. I was really rooting for him. Like I really want him to survive, to really tell the story, to But then we didn't get much backstory on him per se in the flashback, so he wasn't really a character that made sense to survive in a way. As far as like telling the story, because we don't know him that well. Even in the flashbacks, it's still about T. Like I said, Man, the Pig's a Dream Boy. That's all he was. He was in service of another character's narrative, and that's all he was, which is a bummer. But I like his presence in the show. I liked following him and seeing him figure things out, and like people make fun of him for being like a crybaby, but given what's going on, you be crying too, girl. Someone dragged him for having the gun in his back pocket or his back of his pants and had Fluke take it from him. Like they call him stupid for that. I'm like, where else will you put that gun at? Not the front pocket, not holding his hand. Yes, it was back there, but it wasn't like it was an obvious place that people were going to see it at until he did bend down, which he wasn't thinking because they were trying to do things. So like, y'all calm down on White. Next we have is Tan. Oh When I say this boy, like his brother went through it. His brother went through it, y'all. But the aftermath of that and him taking on the burden, losing his brother, mother, and father back to back to back to back, Bestie snapped. Like I kept saying in my reactions, he's a Batman villain. He's the Scarecrow. His plan, like he wanted to take his own life after his father took his life. Like that was a lot. That was a lot. Like ooh my goodness, ooh that was a lot. But then him coming from that and dedicated his time and energy to make this chemical compound to get revenge on those boys, on the friend group, is wild. And the way he did it with the traps, and he even fooled Fee. Like Fee was on his team, but he just used Fee to kind of help him get to this point. And he had his own game plan. He said, "Oh, we're not doing what you want to do. I'm gonna doing this," and he changed everything up. It was crazy, and I was like, "You better get that revenge," because when you look at back at the past timeline, it is heartbreaking what they did to Naan and everything that came from it. And then this boy getting revenge and losing his whole family, like I'm like, oh, do what you gotta do, bestie. Do what you gotta do. I do think killing him is a bit too far, but like, oh well. After what you've been like, you have nothing else to lose. You really don't. Now, I didn't think he was gonna survive because like, what you can't like, I can't imagine him living past all that. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how it was gonna happen, but I knew he wasn't gonna survive, and he didn't. Um, and it was kind of insane. I really wish we got more details about his plan, like the stuff he was doing, how he made those chemicals, because they were really specific. But how you say the word? Specific, specific, not specific, specific. I can't even say it. Y'all know it's very detailed. And I was like, oh. Now I have no problem with poor or Fee going against him. Like people are like, no, Fee should be on his team and killing all. I'm like, I don't know. Not everyone's trying to kill everyone. You can get justice, get revenge without killing people. You know what I mean? I like his way of doing it, Tan's way of doing it, but also the original plan was fine too. But this plan though was crazy. It was wild. But he really lost me when he killed, the uncle with his wire. That's why I was like, oh well, Bestie, I'm not really rooting for you now because you went too far, and that's insane. As much as theatrics and fun and satisfying it is to get the revenge on those boys, but that uncle guy didn't do nothing to you. White did nothing to you. So Tan, you were wild for that. You were so wild for that. I'm really not co-signing that at all. People are like, well, whatever. The uncle dead. Oh, whatever. Not White's dead. Whatever. I'm not whatever with that. I'm like, you are. He got. You should have got too because you out here doing crazy stuff. I agree with your reasoning. I'm not saying you shouldn't have done some certain things, but killing those two, having them die, no ma'am, Miss Pam. No ma'am, Miss Pam. Not. That's not it. That's not it. That's kind of crazy. Next we have is T. Okay, now the ending of the show is kind of crunchy, and I'll get to that in the end. But like, let's say the ending was a little bit different. T being the one of the survivors, it does make sense in my fantasy of having the characters atone and live with their guilds and maybe go to jail or something of that nature to pay for their crimes makes sense with him. Now with T, he's one of the characters who arguably is the most vile in the things they did to Naan. Like Fluke, Poor, and Top is child's play compared to T and Jen. However, there's a complex layer to this. He is one of the reasons, one of the big reasons Naan's life is ruined. He did these awful things to him constantly. Like it was back to back. From tricking him with the camera to get him to be a cash mule, to doing and to drugging him, sent to his uncle. He's if it wasn't for him, Naan wouldn't have went through nearly everything he went through. That's point blank. Period. And I feel like, oh, really, like, because of how he is, because he wasn't actively mean to that boy. He did call him greasy, and he wasn't, like, the friendliest, but he wasn't actively mean like the other two were, Top and Poor. So I'm like, okay, and he always hesitated, always seemed to feel guilty about the things he did, even though he did do the things, even he felt bad, but he did it. Felt bad, and then he did it. And he also tried to like help Naan not get killed a few times. The last time he tried to, it didn't really help out or work. He ended up dying anyways. But his guilt for it and him beating himself up was very real. It made his character more fleshed out. Like it made him seem not like a straight generic bully. There's more layers to it, and the guilt and him coming out of his funk by being with White, and like the tragedy of him being hurt the most by killing his a boyfriend that he loves so much, the person that saved him from his doom and gloom, and like the whole thing with his dad too. They really they made me really feel for him, and I still do. I don't. I'm not saying he should get out scot free, but him not dying, maybe I don't know, because the ending was kind of vague almost. It felt right. He's one of the more complex characters, so him surviving and kind of maybe now if he would have died, it would have also been a tragedy, but also made sense because like he is the main bad person and the main person who did bad things to him to Nas. So like obviously, but I was like maybe him going to jail, and he probably will go to jail if. But that ending, that ending really messed me up. I don't know what to think of it or what to think of these characters because of that ending, but I feel like this is a great character to have in the show. Like it was pissing me off. I was feeling bad, but pissing me. I was feeling both emotions, and I really liked feeling both of those emotions when it came to his character. And they spent the time with his character, past timeline, current timeline, the whole thing, and to have him be one of the ones that come out of the thing, it just makes sense. And then him killing, he caused two people to die. He caused two people to die, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy, crazy. And him fighting his uncle, and like, but also still like it's a lot. And we see why he worked for his uncle now. Like he's not a carbon copy generic bad guy, and that makes it just so fascinating to me. But yeah, next we have is Jin Jin, same as T. Now he's a little bit different than T because he was actively being nice to Nan, but he also was kind of like in that realm of Fluke being more complacent with what's going on. But he did stand up to the bullies. That's what I like about him. He would always constantly stand up for Nan, bucking, but he didn't buck enough or buck long enough. He just kind of was like, okay, whatever. Let me just go along with this. And I felt like at first he was a person that was cool with Naan at first, so they kind of used him to kind of get him into the mix. But he started to really growing like that boy, which was nice to see. But then Naan being booed up with Fee, and so it was like a love triangle thing. But then the teacher came into play, so I was like, oh my gosh. So with Jin, I do feel bad for him as well because he was fine. I mean, like I said, he was in that more complacent realm with Fluke, but he would actively defend Naan. However, him recording that footage and then posting it, well, I was like, oh, Bessie, there's nothing I can do for you. T kept doing things, and we really couldn't do nothing for T, even though he felt guilty. So sorry about that. But Jen, I was holding out for him. I really was. I really was. I really was. And I just was like, no, 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 no. No, no. Oh. And then the guilt was getting to him. And even after the fact, he was like, can y'all stop calling him Greek? Like, I was like, okay, Jen, all right. You're like, he's not good at rotted individual like those other boys. So like, and then like his whole guilt dream thing he had with the him being recorded and being leaked everywhere, and it's like all the things that was genius. The writers having that be his like recurring nightmare thingy dream thing was genius. Filming, posing up, everyone gawking at, laughing at, it, sharing it. He's like, no, stop. Him feeling guilty for doing it to that boy. He didn't really want to do it. He was in his emotions, and like it was a lot, and like he was stabbing himself, stabbing the hand that he used to record. I think that's the hand he held the phone with. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but like it was crazy. It did make sense for him to also be the one of the characters to get out of the hallucination thing. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And like, I don't know if I thought everyone was gonna die, but I felt like I really wish Jen would have survived. I know what he did was terrible, guys. I'm not saying it wasn't. And him sharing that child's stuff on the online, you need to get God, not God, but like justice for Nan because of that. But like, I really want him to like deal with the guilt, atone for that. I don't know how he's going to because that boy's family, everyone's dead now, so I don't know how he was gonna do that. But I was like, oh, But Jen got me mad when he divulged to Tana he knows the tea. You are injured, sir. Y'all, you know what's going on. Play along until you have a safe space. Until you out of his. Because you look what happened. You talking too much. I do think it's kind of wild that he ends up with Naan's ex. That's kind of insane to me a little bit, but also like, oh, okay, well. Fee is up next. The real final girl of the group, which I thought White was gonna be the final girl, but it really was him. Um, I like this character. I like the whole like being upset at the cheating situation of Anon and the teacher, but him also being like, oh, I'm finding out more information. I know why he did what he did. Let me get these guys. Let me infiltrate the group. Let me get his brother into my corner. Let's get this revenge. Let's get the information. Let's get justice for Nan. I'm all for that. I love that. I know people were upset that he kind of like got booed up with Jen for real, and he divulged the plan to Jen because he is in love with him now and he shouldn't be. But I'm like, I don't know about that. It's been years since this situation, and I think Tan going off the plan and killing people, I would be against him too. Like, oh, that's not what I signed up for. You really got me out here doing. We're basically criminals already, but now we're murderers now because of you. Let me stop this. I don't think he's wrong for stopping it. Yes, it could be because he's in love with Jen, but also given the situation, he killed it. He killed an innocent man. Like y'all, what's not clicking with that? Do y'all not care about that man, the uncle? Do y'all not care? I mean, I know he wasn't like barely in the show, so I guess y'all don't. But like, come on now. Come on. Now, I like I said, I like him as the final girl. Like him stopping, Fee. He's the one who kills Fee. That's which is not Fee. Oh my God, Fee. Fee killing Tan. Him being the one who's to stop him was satisfying in some type of ways. But now with that ending, mm, we'll get to it. But like, I don't know how to feel now because what that ending was. But him being Captain Save-A-Ho felt right. I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to stop Tan from going too far. Now, I don't know if I thought he was going to save lots of people, especially when Poor died. That's why I was like, okay, maybe not everyone's going to get saved. I figured it was going to be White and Jen. I figured that. I feel like everyone else was going to get got. Um, but that wasn't the case. It was T and Jen. I was like, oh, damn. Okay. All right. Poor White. I like his character. I feel like the actor did a really good job. Those like hallucination scenes. Um, he didn't do them like. Yes, he cussed his man out, but like it wasn't malicious. He just based on seeing Nan with the teacher on the footage and him being in his emotions. Sure, it would have been nice for him to calm down and kind of understand the situation, but like, how do you calm down from seeing footage of your man with someone else? You know what I mean? Like, how do you remain rational and like, let me calm down, let me listen, let me cool headed. Especially when you're like 16, like especially then. I can't imagine doing that now, being a grown man, but like being a teenager, I can imagine. Y'all doing a little bit too much on him a little bit. And it makes sense for him not have the worst type of dream and like or be the one to come out of it because he really like yeah he felt guilty for not for like saying the things he said to him when he found out what happened with the teacher. Like I understand like his thing, but like it makes sense for him to be the one to like come out of it. What a great actor though. He really was acting and his character. I really like his character. Like it was a joy to see him come through at the end. Even though that ending, we'll get to it. Last we have is Nan, the most tragic character out this show. I made a video relatively recently, or actually maybe some weeks ago, about Nan because someone said, I think after episode 8, they were like, "Oh, he causes his own problems and he makes bad choices and all these things." I was so hurt. This little queer boy went through it. These boys ruined his life constantly. Every corner he turned, it was another issue constantly. And you can say, well, he should have, stopped being friends with him, so they started getting bullied, and he should have did this and should have that. Yeah, maybe he should have. But also, he was manipulated, lied on, lied to, all the things. Like they really did the most, and he decisions he made was based on what they did to him. And I'm going to stand on that hill. I don't care. They did him so dirty. They did him so wrong. I'm on Team Naan. It hurts my heart that he went out the way he went out. It hurts my heart that his family went through what they went through, and it's so tragic. It is such a tragic, sad situation that this boy. I even now I'm like about to tear up because it's so sad what happened to him. From poor and top treating him to the things that T did, from the leak of the footage that Jen did, even the teacher. I don't know what's going on with that teacher. I don't know if he was really caring about him. It seemed like he might have really cared about him, but still, you what 10 years older than him, like you're his like it's a lot. So you shouldn't be doing that. And then like the uncle wanted to harvest his organs, but then he ended up just working him to death. Like it was, uh and I'm not sure he got any justice. Yeah, the people who did stuff to him, most of them are like, you know, they got, but I don't know what that does now. But I think it's nice that his like ghost dream version of himself came to thank his brother. I think that was nice. I was very bittersweet with that. I was like, oh, like, but also this actor Barcode, give him all the flowers, please, cause Bestie ate that roll up from the sad stuff to the romantic stuff to the fun stuff to the tragic, scary, unhinged stuff. He hit the mark every time. Like I walked away and walked away. I left this show feeling like I want to see more of this actor. The range he gave in this one show alone. I believe it was in Kim Porch too, but like this show, he really got them acting chops chopping. He really did the damn thing. He sure did, y'all. He sure the F did. And I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. Like, it's insane how well he did as this character. This tragic character. Naan. Oh my gosh. Naan. All right, guys. Overall, I think Dead Forever is a great show. I'm so glad I watched it. I do think that ending was ridiculous. It felt like a half-baked, unfinished show. That's the only takeaway from that last episode. It's supposed to be like a twist ending, like, oh, are we still in the house? But I don't understand that because if old boy's dead, who gonna stop you? I don't know if there's like a twist that Naan is still alive or maybe not. That's probably not what it is. Or like so he booby trapped the house with more gas, so it doesn't matter what happens, just in case. Maybe what happening based on that ending of Phoebe being like, "Are we still stuck in the house? Are we still dreaming?" That was crunchy, and it ended. So I felt very underwhelmed with that ending. I would say it was a bad ending, honestly speaking. But I will say, I was watching. I was like, "Oh, we're not going to do an investigation. There was a cops at who's telling the story, what happened." And then he's like, "Actually, we didn't do any of those things." I was like, "Oh, I asked about that, and you're bringing it up. Cool." But then be like, "We never left the house. 2 years didn't pass. We're still there." That ending was really weird, and I did not like it at all. But overall, the show was kind of great. Like I said, some characters could have got more fleshed out, more things happened with certain characters. It's fine that it didn't happen. I still enjoyed it. I probably will rewatch this with Jorge and have him react to it. That would be fun. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below on the whole show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I will see y'all in the next one.